Hi, thanks very much for clicking on the video link. My name is Natalie Armstrong-Motin. I really appreciate you joining me today for another in the series of idle chats with ABA Dispute Resolution Section members. Today I get to talk to colleague and fellow member in New York, Dan Berstein. Hi, Dan, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, it's my pleasure. How are things there in New York?
Things in New York are pretty good, all things considered. So yeah, how about you? How are things where you are?
Normandy, France, it's always nice to be in Normandy, even in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. It's still really pretty here. So, well, Dan, I wanted to chat with you a little bit about the work you do. Before we start our idle chat, can you tell me a little bit about mental health communication and the work that you do, because it is different than some of our colleagues?
Sure. So the work that I do is focused on helping people have better conversations about mental health. And that's very relevant, especially now in the time of the pandemic, because a lot of people are having mental health problems more than ever before in the statistics. And so it's very relevant to a lot of different types of communities. Mental health communication is just the skills we use to have better interactions, including conflict resolution around mental health. And so the work that I do is about bringing conflict resolution best practices to any kind of interactions about mental health. And so that includes being sensitive about the language we use when we talk about mental health, but it also includes having plans to address challenging behaviors in a way where you're not stigmatizing someone's mental health problem, and having ways to be accessible to people who may or may not have mental health needs, without, again, singling anyone out and using assumptions or paternalism or stigma related to mental health. So to sum it up, my work with mental health communication is very broadly applicable. It includes everything from how to have good communication to actual conflict resolution processes. And it's relevant for all kinds of mental health stakeholders, because all of us have mental health, so we all are mental health stakeholders.
Perfect. And so the work you do, is it with corporations, communities, governmental associations and organizations? Who are your primary clients?
I have a very diverse reach. So I work with, my answer to that is yes. So there's a lot of people will come to me for direct mediation or coaching services, and those will be companies or agencies. And I also do trainings. My goal is to have a large scale impact and give a lot of people resources. So I've worked on a lot of projects that are self-sustaining online grant-funded programs that provide resources for families and family organizations, libraries, housing providers. Really, it's very, very broadly applicable because, again, mental health is a topic that affects all of us, and people who have mental health needs are very, very common, because 1 in 5 of us will have a diagnosable mental health problem each year, but all of us will have a bad day at some point. And so, mental health is relevant for everyone, and it's important to know how to have these conversations and also handle these situations without inadvertently scapegoating mental illness or stigmatizing certain people. So a lot of different people are interested. And my goal is always to reach as many as possible.
I like that. I like that a lot. Very commendable work that you're doing, and impressive work that you're doing. And I'll share with you that one of the reasons that we initiated the Idle Chat series was to be sure that our dispute resolution section was reaching out to members in a way that is a little bit more lighthearted. Because after we've all been inside our dining rooms or our back offices for so many months, it's important for us to connect and make sure that our colleagues are doing well, and to kind of lighten the mood a little bit. We need a little bit of levity during these strange days. So, well, if it's all right with you, we'll move on to the questions and idly chat with one another.
Great. Yeah, of course.
All right. Dan, first question is, what movie or what movie quote do you use most often in your day-to-day life?
Okay, great. So, first I'll preface by saying I have bipolar disorder. So part of the reason I do the work that I do is it comes from my personal experience and seeing how difficult it was for me to communicate about my own mental health problem. And the quote that I have is a quote from the book A Beautiful Mind, which became, the movie A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe, about John Nash, who's a brilliant mathematician and Nobel Prize winner who lives with schizophrenia. And the quote is, one of his colleagues asked him, how can someone as brilliant as you believe in all these, ideas like aliens and things like that? And John Nash turned back to him and said, because the ideas about the supernatural beings came to me the same way as the ideas about mathematics did. So I took them seriously. And so I always really loved that quote. I was very lost when I discovered it, and I had experienced my first major mental health problem. I had a manic episode, and I had to take time off college. And during my episode, I had thought I was going to travel through time to fix it so my parents never got divorced. And people were surprised, how I could have believed these ideas. And part of it was I hadn't slept for 4 days, but part of it was, this idea that, the idea came to me the same as any other idea. So why would I doubt it? So I really love that quote. And it's always been the quote that speaks to me the most, and that I always try to share whenever I can. Even in idle chats like this one, I like to, it is my favorite quote. So
here's my next question. What is it that you know now that you wish you had known 20 years ago?
So the thing that I know now, and I always try to tell people that I wish I knew 20 years ago, is that, everybody is on the same spectrum of mental health, meaning everybody has good days and bad days. And so if someone's doing something that's upsetting to me, they might have their own struggles that I don't realize. And so, I really learned that through my personal experience of dealing with my mental health problems and understanding, a lot more because of the work I do. A lot of people confide in me and tell me about what they're going through, and you'd be surprised privately what people are managing and dealing with and struggling. And so when I was younger, I definitely had a lot more trouble, and I still have to work on this all the time, thinking, well, is somebody trying to hurt me? Is someone, if I'm hurt, if I'm bothered by something, is that because the other person's a villain? Or is it possible that they're going through something, or they have a perspective I don't understand? So that's the thing that I really, I wish I could tell myself or teach myself when I was younger is, other people might be doing something that bothers you, but it's not necessarily because they're trying to hurt you or because it's on purpose. And even if someone's trying to hurt you, they might have something going on that, not to say it's okay to get hurt, but you don't know someone's circumstances. And so I think that's very important, especially in the times we're in now with all the divisiveness, to remember that, people really aren't villains.
Yeah, boy, is that a good lesson. Boy, is that a good lesson. That's a fantastic example. I like that one. I'll do my best to try and use that one more in my day to day as well, because that's a powerful lesson. All right, Dan, I know that you are a fan of games. What game do you spend the most time playing, do you think?
So I play a game with myself, I guess, all the time. And I like to sort things. So sometimes it'll be counting change or sorting my papers. I have a lot of piles of papers of what I have to do. I have, at times I've had like a bag of marbles that I would sort. And it helps me to not take anything too seriously because, keeping things in motion. So I even have a bulletin board where I put the projects I'm doing and I move them around. I really feel a lot of relaxation from organizing things into some kind of structure that, but also not clinging to one way things are organized. So I do a lot of reorganizing, moving things around, and it helps me stay calm, and it also helps me not be rigid. So.
All right, good answer. Good answer. I like that game too. All right. All right, Dan, next question. Which do you prefer more, cats or dogs?
That's interesting because I would have said dogs, and I was obsessed with dogs. And when I got bar mitzvahed, I had a dog themed bar mitzvah. It was Daniel's Bark Mitzvah. But now I have a cat because when I met my wife, she had a cat. And he is an incredible cat. And he even talks to us because he meows, but it's like we're having a conversation sometimes, although maybe we're imagining it. But now I'm confused, so I can't even answer that question. I think that a cat, you have to earn it, right? You have to earn. You can't just expect them to come as readily as a dog. So I think that when I think I'm worthy, maybe I'm more of a cat person, and when I'm needy, maybe I'm more of a dog person.
I never heard of a preference being defined like that, but I kind of like it. So if I asked you, what is the last photograph that you took on your phone?
Yeah, so the last photograph on my phone, we take a lot of pictures of Theo, is our cat. So all the time, every time he sits in a different way, it's very cute, but he also will find his way into different places. He really is very mischievous sometimes, and whenever he does something like that, first we take a picture and then we correct it.
Because why not? Why not? Life is short. All right, Dan, when was the last time that you had more than 9 hours of sleep?
The last time I had more than 9 hours of sleep was probably a few months ago, and every few months, if I have sleep problems, I have a medicine that I take that helps me get more sleep. So when I take that medicine, I have to sleep a long time afterwards, because if I get woken up, I'll be very hungover and irritable and messed up that next day. And so periodically, I have to watch my sleep. And when I have poor sleep, I'll take this medicine. That's just another part of, living with the bipolar disorder. One of the most important things for me is to make sure I'm getting sleep. And I mentioned briefly earlier that I hadn't slept 4 days, and that's when I got sick, one other time. So I'm very careful to watch my sleep. And a few times a year, sometimes, more times a year than others, I take this medicine to make sure I sleep.
All right. Well, I'm a big believer in the 8 hours program.
Yeah, normally I get 8 hours, no problem.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Here is my last question for you, Dan. It could be one thing or many things, but what is it that you love most about the work that you do in the resolution industry?
What I love most about the work in the conflict resolution industry is that this is a field that, by our principles, we believe in giving people choices, and we believe in being fair. And it's hard to always do that, and we're all people, so we all make mistakes, but I really love that that's the focus, that that's the beginning of any interaction, is how do we do this in a way that gives that person choices, and how do we do this in a way that is fair? And that, in that end, I do my mental health work, but I also try to do work with best practices in our field, because I think we are the place where fairness lives and where choices live. And we really have an opportunity to, improve how everybody learns how to be fair and honor choices. And when someone comes for a conflict resolution process, they can see that modeled by the mediator, that choices are important, and that we're really trying to make sure people feel like it's a fair situation, as fair as possible. So that's what I love the most about this work, is that we're all coming together in service of these two core values that I see as the main ones, the fairness and choice, even if we also all have work to do ourselves to get better at doing it.
Right. But, when everybody helps everybody else, it just gets better and better.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Yeah. So if someone were interested in working with mental health mediation, if someone were curious about how your services can apply to their situation, or they just need more information, more resources, what's the best way for people to reach out and connect with you?
So the best way someone can connect with me, I'll say my email address. I always am open to questions from anyone. It's dan@mhmediate.com. That's MHMEDIATE. And you can go to www.mhmediate.com as well, and you can fill out a form there. But the best thing to do is email me directly, dan@mhmediate.com, and tell me what you're interested in, because I do a lot of different kinds of work. So if you go to the mhmediate.com website, you'll see a lot about trainings for challenging behaviors, dealing with those in a fair way. But There's a lot of different projects I'm involved in, and I'm always interested to hear from people. And any kind of question, any kind of inquiry, I'll always be glad to get it and glad to interact. I feel like I learn the most from hearing from others. So.
As do the rest of us. Well, I will encourage anyone watching this film, or this video rather, if you've got questions, if you've got challenges, please reach out to someone, if not Dan, to someone, so that your specific needs for mental health concerns or questions can be met. But definitely reach out to Dan if your company, your church, your community, your governmental association, if you need help designing a program, Dan's your guy. Thanks very much for watching, and thank you, Dan, for your time.
Thank you.